Incumbent Republican Governor Kay Ivey has clinched her first full term in office. Ivey's been declared the winner in the Alabama gubernatorial race over Tuscaloosa Mayor Walt Maddox, who ran as a Democrat. Thanks for being with us tonight as we continue to bring you updated results in this year's general election. I'm Mike Stedham. Here's some more updated results from the statewide elections. That predicted blue wave that some people saw coming across the nation nationwide for the Democrats barely made a ripple in Alabama, where tonight's election results appeared to be more of a crimson tide, as the Republican red appears to have held all the offices. In fact, it appears that all of Alabama's statewide officers will continue to be Republicans. Kay Ivey, as we mentioned a moment ago, the former lieutenant governor of Alabama, won over Maddox with a total of 60 to 40%. These results are incomplete and they are not official at this point, but again, the Associated Press and other media have already declared Ivey the winner. She has given her acceptance speech and Maddox has given his concession speech. Over in the lieutenant governor's race, that's an office that has been empty while Ivey has been serving as governor for the last year and a half. Republican Will Ainsworth easily defeated his Democrat challenger Will Boyd, 61% for Ainsworth and 39% for Boyd. In the race for Attorney General, it was slightly closer, as incumbent Republican Steve Marshall received 58% of the vote to Joseph Siegelman's 42%. And for the Chief Justice of the Alabama Supreme Court, Tom Parker, a Republican, received 57% of the vote. Bob Vance Jr., the Democrat, received 43% in that case. And for the Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, place number 4, it was again a strong victory for the Republican candidate, Jay Mitchell, who defeated Democrat Donna Wesson Smalley 73% to 27%. In the race for Secretary of State, the incumbent, John Merrill, the Republican, 74%, almost 3/4 of the vote, to Heather Milam's 26%. There were the race for state auditor, Jim Ziegler, the Republican, received 73% of the vote to Miranda Karen Joseph's 27%. And there were 2 places on the Alabama Public Service Commission that were up for grabs today, and Republicans carried both of them. For place number 1, it was Jeremy Oden with 73% to Kara McClure's 27%. And over in place number 2, Chris Chip Beaker Jr. received 73% to Democrat Kerry Powell's 27%. In the race for U.S. Representative in the 3rd District of Alabama, that includes a lot of the counties here in East Alabama, it's incumbent Mike Rogers, who's been in Congress since 2003. He received 73% of the vote. His Democrat challenger, Mallory Hagan of Opelika, received 27% of that vote. Up in District 4, which includes the Gadsden area and places north from there, Robert Adderholt clearly overcame his Democrat challenger with 85% of the vote to Lee Allman's 15% of the vote. And State Senator District number 10, the independent candidate Craig Ford received 24%, and the winner in that case was Andrew Jones, the Republican, who received 76% of the vote. In District number 11 for State Senator, Republican Jim McClendon had an easy victory, 76% to Carl Carter's 24%. In the race for District 12, which includes the Anniston area and parts of Calhoun and surrounding counties, Del Marsh, who is also serving as the President Pro Tem of the Alabama State Senate, easily won re-election with 63% of the vote. Jim Williams of Anniston was his Democrat challenger. Williams received 36%. Now, the back of the ballots earlier today, there were 4 proposed amendments to the Alabama state constitution. Voters had a chance to vote either yea or nay on abortion, the 10 Commandments, the University of Alabama's Board of Trustees, and requirements for special elections. It appears that all 4 of those amendments have won. Let's take a look individually at these. In the first case, this is the one that would allow the display of the 10 Commandments on public property across Alabama. 71% of the voters in the state said yes to the 10 Commandments, while 29% said no. In number 2, another controversial state amendment, this one would recognize the sanctity of unborn life and the right to life in all manners and measures. It would also reject the idea that the Constitution of Alabama had any protection for the right to abortion or requiring the funding of abortion. Alabama voters apparently liked the wording of that proposed amendment, and they said yes to it by a vote of 59% to 41%, or 31%. In the proposed state amendment number 4, this is the one that would allow the governor of Alabama not to call a special election if a member of the House or Senate left before their 4-year term was over. Then that could leave a district potentially unrepresented for at least one session. But instead of having that vote, the voters today decided that 66% of them would say yes to not having the requirement of a special election. The no vote there, 34%. And back to number 3. We missed one of the state amendments there. This is the one that would change the way the Board of Trustees of Alabama is constituted. It would lock in place the number of congressional districts currently in the state. Now, a lot of people believe that in 2020, with redistricting, reapportionment, Alabama could lose one of its congressional districts. In that case, the Board of Trustees of Alabama would lose 2 members. This bill, which apparently passed 61% to 39%, locks in place the current 7 districts, so the number of people on that board would not change. And in places 1 through 7 in the Calhoun County Board of Education, there were 7 Republicans and 1 Democrat running. It appears that the Democrat was the odd person out. Brooke Carbo received only 5% of the vote, and each of the Republicans received about 13 or 14% of the vote. So that means those 7 people will be on the Calhoun County Board of Education. And let's look at a couple of proposed local amendments. The first would authorize the operation of bingo games here in Calhoun County. And the people of Calhoun County apparently like the idea of bingo, and they said yes to this amendment, 69% to 31%. The other bill would prohibit municipalities outside the county from bringing their police jurisdictions into Calhoun County. Again, the voters seem to like the wording of that proposed ordinance, and they said 64% yes and 36% no. And in the Gadsden area, we have a number of elections up there. The first is for the Court of Criminal Appeals, place number 3, where Republican Sonny Steen received 60% of the vote, and David Allen Kimberly received 40%. For probate judge of Etowah County, Scott Hassel, the Republican, the apparent winner in that case over Jay Hedgepeth, 60 to 40%. For circuit judge 16th Judicial Circuit, place number 4, it appears that the Republican Cody Robinson is the winner in that 3-person race over Democrat Morgan Cunningham, who received 27% of the vote, and independent Elizabeth Haney, who received 18%. There was a Etowah County special referendum which would allow the sale of alcoholic beverages within certain cities on Sunday. And it now appears that the voters in the Etowah County area say yes to that particular idea by a score of 54% to 46%. Welcome back to election night coverage here on TV 24. We have lots more numbers for you and lots more races. Right now, let's take a look at Talladega County, where the sheriff's office is up for grabs. Republican Jimmy Kilmore appears to have won in that race, 61% to William Bill Coker's 39%. And in the race for probate judge of Calhoun County, of Talladega County, it appears that Randy Jinks, the Republican, received 60% of the vote to Van Caldwell's 40% there in Talladega County, judge of probate. And nearly a dozen state representative seats have been on the line in today's election. The State Representative District 10, we're going to look at some of these numbers as they come across. This is a very close race, as you can tell, 50% to 50%. Only 55 votes separate Gil F. Isbell, the Republican, from the Democrat Kyle Pierce. So, as they say in the politics business, this one is too close to call. We should have more numbers on that coming up soon. Becky Nordgren in District 29, the Republican, this is a much easier race to call, 76% for Nordgren to 24% for the Democrat Jared Milliken. In District number 30, Craig Lipscomb, the Republican, had an easy victory, 82% to Jared Vaughn's 18%. In District 32, this is a race that has apparently flipped around. The Democrat incumbent Barbara Boyd of Anniston now appears to have won that pretty handily with 61% of the vote. James Lloyd, the Saks businessman, the Republican, received 39% of the vote in these unofficial vote totals. In District 33, the Republican Ronald Johnson received 67% to defeat his Democrat challenger Scott Brewer, who got 33% of the vote. And in District number 36, which covers Anniston, areas around Anniston, such as Saks, Randy Wood of Saks, the Republican incumbent, received 72% of the vote. His Democrat challenger Nikki Arnold Swindle received 28%. In the race for District number 37, Republican Bob Fincher easily won that race, 74% to Charlotte Clark Frieson's 26%. And looking at District number 40, we did not have those numbers earlier. They've come in now. And Jacksonville businessman K.L. Brown, the incumbent Republican from District number 40, easily won that seat, 74%. Pamela Howard of Jacksonville, his Democratic challenger, received 26%. Well, although tomorrow isn't looking quite as promising as today did weather-wise, we still have some better days ahead. Let's check back in with John Holder for an update on our weather forecast. It appears that a surprisingly large percentage of Alabama's 3.4 million registered voters turned up to vote today. So let's take a look at the statewide results as we've been talking about this evening. First, we'll start at the top of the ballot with the governor's race, where incumbent Kay Ivey has been declared the winner at 60% of the vote. The Republican governor will be winning her first full term of office. She defeated Democrat Walt Maddox of Tuscaloosa. The Democrat received 40% of the vote. Down one place in the ballot for Lieutenant Governor, Will Ainsworth, the Republican candidate there, received 61% of the vote, and Will Boyd, the Democrat, received 39%. Continuing the Republican sweep, the incumbent Attorney General Steve Marshall of Marshall County, the Republican, received 58% of the vote. Joseph Siegelman, the Democrat, received 42%. In the race for Secretary of State, John Merrill, who is our state's top election official, a Republican and the incumbent, received 74% of the vote. His challenger, Heather Milam, received 26% of the vote.